Welcome back to the Crochet Credits with my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today I'm going to show you how to do a C2C x 4 as a rectangle. This is the corner to corner times 4. This is a concept that I've created, and people were asking me over the years on how to create a corner to corner going from the center out. So it actually took me several tries, lots of frogging in order to figure out the math because I kept buckling. So today I have the solution for you, and today I'm going to show you exactly what to do. This is meant for beginners of learning how to do this concept, but not necessarily beginners of crochet. So as I mentioned, over the years people have asked me how to do a corner to corner going out from the center. So what I had here is that I had the challenge of doing 4 corner to corners but do it as a one-piece unit. So what you see here is that you see a corner to corner here and here, here and here, and as we circle around we're completing each one. So it's a corner to corner times 1, 2, 3 and 4. The difficulty that we had is in the center here, and when I say we, I mean me really for all my personalities, is that I kept buckling right in the center. So what I had to do is figure out the math in order to get it to go, and then I kept having to retry, and I kept buckling after I got it to a certain level. So what I have done for you is that I have actually figured everything out. Now when you look at it from a square perspective, and we have a tutorial available for that as well, you can see that it starts off in the center and then it goes straight out. So you see 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's the corner to corner times 4 as a square. The problem with the rectangle is that these are not equal to each other, because the fact is that the middle section here in here is longer. So what I had to do is that I had to figure out the math in order to get it to expand, and I had to solve the problem because people are gonna ask me, how do you make these even longer? So I did a particular one here in Karen Tea Cakes, and it's really quite fabulous and fun, and I really love this concept. So let me tell you about the pros and cons for this concept. So with the corner to corner, it has a very distinct raised ridge, and you'll notice that when you're doing corner to corners. Here is the one I did a couple days ago in video format, and you're gonna notice how it's all looking like corner to corner. If you're familiar with that, it is the corner to corner except for the corners of the particular Afghans that you see. So the problem is that if you go in a continuous revolution around and around, you lose the whole concept of corner to corner. It doesn't work out. So what I figured out is that I had to go around and then stop and then turn around and go back in the other direction, and I have to keep doing that. The problem is with striping yarn like this is called Karen Tea Cakes, and this is not a deal breaker for me, but for people that are really particular about their coloring, you will notice that the colors changed into this dark color. It stopped, and then we turned the Afghan and went the other way. So you will notice that this corner, this corner, this corner, the colors are transitioning around perfectly, and then it suddenly stops. So what you're going to notice is that as you grow this concept out, even in the square, is that if you're doing striping like this, you will notice that it will have a distinct area where the colors don't match on either side. Again, no big deal. It's the way you fold it on a particular sofa. Again, I'm using this for comfort on a sofa, so it's really not a deal breaker. However, if you're gonna use a solid color, you will never know the difference that you went there and back and there and back. So I have a diagram that's available for you. Let's talk about that. So here's the diagram, and it's available on my website. There's actually 2 of them as it expands outward, and I did this for your convenience in order to do it, and honestly this is how I write my patterns anyway. So I have a second one. You can download those and print those for yourself. So what are you noticing about this particular Afghan? You will notice that there is motifs. These are separate. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 motifs were put together as you were crocheting them in order to make it work. Now in my research and development, I tried to do this whole centerpiece as a one-piece unit. I couldn't get it to go. It kept buckling and buckling and buckling, honestly. I was creating words that were not in Webster's dictionary. So what I had to do is that I had to figure out exactly how to do the corners. Now you will notice that there is 2 types of motifs. They're not all the same. Look carefully. You will notice that the outside ones have double crochets. Okay, there's one here, one here. There's 2 chains to separate them, 2 chains, and then these are side by side, 2 chains, side by side, and 2 chains. Look at this one. This one's got 2 and 2 chains, 2, 2 chains, 2 and 2 chains. So it has that all the way around, and so does this one. So all of the motifs in the middle of a rectangle that you're forming must be this one. The outside ones must be different, and you will notice that, see these ones that are sitting by themselves, the double crochets, you will see it's on the opposite side the same way, and the reason for it is that as it grows out you will notice that there's a very distinct line that is happening in here, and that's the look that is going completely out, and you can really clearly see it in the square one that I have. Okay, so you see this line going straight out. So it has to maintain that out in the corner. So when you're going to crochet these together you have to be conscientious that the ones on the outside only have one, and these are the starting in the corners, and they have to be positioned outwards. So I'm gonna get you started today, and I'm gonna show you how to do both of these motifs. Now you're gonna ask me a question. Let me cover that next. So you're gonna ask me a question. So the question will be, how many of these interior motifs do I need to do in order to get to a certain size? I really don't know the answer to that. I do know this though. So I do know this. So you see the width of what you're doing right now here? It will always stay in proportion. So if you're doing this particular concept, and for example say you only did 3 here, this will be more closer to a square. It'll still be rectangle but be more closer, and the more motifs that you add the longer it will be. So when I did this particular sample here with the Karen tea cakes, you will notice here that I did a total level of 1, 2, and 3. So there's only 3 motifs. So it's still rectangle, but it's not as rectangular as it could be for a bedspread. So you want to just keep that into account. Maybe you can leave some comments here on the tutorial if you figured out that a certain amount of motifs equal a certain amount of size. So I guess this is it. So let me get started. I'm going to use Bernat Softy Chunky today. I'm gonna use an 8mm size crochet hook just for convenience, and I'm gonna show you how to do all of the beginnings, because once you get this, the outside ones are pretty easy. There's 2 rows, and because you're going back and forward and back and forward. So let's begin to do that as we begin. So let's do the motifs, and let's do the center motifs first. One more thing before I get you started, you're going to notice that there is no starting chains on these things. That is only because I wanted to make it easier for you to be able to follow along. So as we begin, what's gonna happen is that you are going to chain a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is your 1 double crochet, and so then you just have to double crochet into the starting one of there. So here again on this one here it would be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this one is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and that's the 4th. So that just makes it a little bit easier for you to follow, just in case you were worried about that. So let's begin again in the center. So let's begin. We're gonna create a slip knot, and we want to chain a total of 4. So if I'm going too fast for you, just pause me, and if I'm going too slow, I'm sorry about that. I really want people to see this concept because I worked really hard on it. So we have this one. This counts as never counts as 1. So I want to chain a 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this counts as your center plus 1 double crochet. So we're doing the center ones of the motif. So we're going to come into the very first chain, and you're going to double crochet. And as you're doing this, you want to trap this straggler into position underneath. So now we want to chain 2, and then in this one again right in the center you want to put in 2 double crochets in a row. So 1 and 2. Okay, and then you want to chain 2, and then coming back into the center again, 2 more double crochets. And then chain 2, and then coming back into the center again, 2 more double crochets. So now you can see you got 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side. So chain 2 and join it to the top of the beginning chain 4 that you had started with, and that's it. So now what you want to do is that you want to get rid of your loose ends now. So this is the very starting one. You can't attach it to anything because it's your first. So just get rid of this. Get rid of your loose ends really quite nicely at this point, and I'm gonna show you how to do that, and then I'll leave the rest of the loose ending stuff for you to do in the future. I'll just reference it. So let me show you how that's done. To get rid of your loose ends, just get a darning needle. You can weave them in, but you know, why would you want to risk falling out, especially if you're gonna do a nice job. So what you have to just do is put that ending strand on a needle and just drag it through some of the chain work. Okay, try to stay on the inside of the project, don't go and impede the outside of it. So I'm gonna pull over once, and you're gonna fill in these spaces anyway of these chain twos, so you don't have to worry about them too much. Go back in the other direction, okay, twice, and then come back in the other direction a third time, and you're done. So that is how you just weave in your ends. And what you might want to do is that you might want to go back to the center. If you didn't bury it enough, then just put it through a darning needle and just weave them in. So now this is the very first one. So now the rest of the center ones, if you want to do just one center and then two outsides, then just fast forward this video, but I'm gonna show you how to do another center, and it's gonna attach to this one here, and then I'm gonna do it one more time just to make sure that you got it. So let's begin to do the second motif, which is part of the center. So let's put this aside, and we're gonna do a second one, but keep that one pretty close, and we're going to start off with a slip knot again. Put your hook in, and I'm going to chain a total of 4. So you know how to do that. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all sides of these are equal. So at one point in the chain 2 we're gonna have to join to a neighbor, which is not really a big deal. So I'll show you how that's done. So we're gonna come into the very starting chain, okay, and you're going to double crochet. So now you got 2 in a row. So now that we have our 2 in there, so we got their chain 3s that we skipped over and this one, we can start attaching it to the neighbor. So to attach, instead of just doing chain 2 and then continuing around, we have to then chain only 1, and then we grab the other one here, and what we want to do is that we want to go into a space of a chain 2. So coming up from the underside, just wrap the hook and pull through and through, and that'll attach it, and then chain 1. Okay? That's all it was. So instead of chaining 2, you chain 1, slip stitch it to the neighbor, and then chain 1. So now you're just gonna continue to finish off the motif you just started. So now you're gonna put in 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2, and then you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet twice, and then you can see you got 3 sides done. So 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, and finish the final side. So there's 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and then all you're just gonna do to finish is chain 2 and then slip stitch it to the top of the beginning chain 4. So at this point you can see that your motifs are now joined. So now let's just finish that off, weave in your ends, and then I'm gonna do one more of these, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the ends after that. So now I'm gonna do one more inside before I'm doing the outside, but again, if you want to just start doing the outsides, then you can do that too. So you can do it at any point really. So let's just leave these aside, and let's start another one. So just slip knot, okay, you're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then just double crochet into the first one. So you already know how to do that. So we're gonna now attach it to this. Now here's what we need to pay attention to. Where are you attaching? So if you go in this direction, you're gonna be in the wrong. So you need to attach it here. So you need to keep the line going straight across. So we're gonna chain 1, and then just grabbing this, and you want the one that's opposite here, coming up from the underside, slip stitch it, and chain 1. So it was chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, and now you're gonna finish this motif. So coming back into the center, you're gonna double crochet twice, okay, chain 2, double crochet twice, chain 2, double crochet twice. So you should end up with 4 sides. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, and 4, chain 2, and then join it to the top of the beginning chain 4, and weave in your ends. So at this particular point now is that you can see that you have a total of 3 of these that are in the center. So weave in your ends, and now I'm gonna show you how to do the outsides. So I'm back here on my sheet, and now we're gonna do the outside. So you have one this side and you have one this side. So what you have to be very conscientious of is that the outside corner has to be the one double crochet that sits by itself. So you see this one sits by itself, so does this one, and the other two match the center. So you got 2 and 2. So when you look at the other side, the other twos are towards the inside and the one that sits by itself is on the outside. So we have to be very conscious when we're going to joining these that we keep these ones on the outside, these standalones. So let's begin to do these next. Okay, now with your motifs close by, we're now going to do, you can do either or, it doesn't really matter, but we'll do the first one and we're going to chain a total of 4. So you've already know how to do that, and that counts as a total of 1 double crochet. So watch this. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and so this one here is 1 double crochet, but we need an extra gap space, so we're gonna chain 1 more. So you actually chain 5 and then we begin to circle around. So in the very beginning one that we have down here, we're going to put in 2 double crochets first. So 1 and 2, and now when you look at it, the one is sitting by itself. This is the corner. These two are leaning towards these. So this join here must join to here at this point. So we're gonna chain up 1 and then we're going to go straight across. Just follow it straight across, get that chain 2 that's straight across, join it, okay, and then you're gonna come back into the motif you're working on and you're going to put in 2 double crochets right into the end, or right into the beginning one that you had. So 2, 1 and 2, and then you're going to chain 2, and now this time it's gonna be 1 double crochet that sits by itself. Okay, so this is the other corner. So this is the first corner, this is the other corner of the actual Afghan itself, and then you're going to chain 2 and you are going to join it to the third one up. Remember that you chained a total of 5, so the fifth one is here and the fourth one is the very top, so you want to be this one right here. So it's the third one up. So 1, 2 and 3, join it and then fasten off, and what you can see here is exactly what it shows in the photo. So you have 2 double crochets leaning towards the center of the section, 2 of these leaning towards, and the very outsides will be 1 double crochet by itself and 1 double crochet. Fasten off, weave in your ends, and we'll do the other side now. So right now this is the very edge that we have. This is the one side. So you got the 1 by itself and you got the 2, and you can see it here, and then you're gonna notice it may have a little bit of a twist to it. Don't worry about it, because once you go all the way around the first time, everything will settle down. So I'm gonna turn it around and do the other side here. Okay, so this is the farthest side. Now we're gonna do this side. It just makes it easier just for reference reasons. So I'm going to chain a total of 5. Okay, so remember I said 4 before and then add 1. That was just for tutorial reasons, but actually do 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that included that the first one is the center, the next 3 are the double crochet, and the next one is the space. And I want you to double crochet twice in the very first chain way down here. So 1 and 2, and now we're going to join it to your neighbor. So chain up 1 and then just grab your strands that you have and do the very last one. So just follow it straight across, come up from the underside, join it. So that's with the slip stitch and then chain 1. So you did a chain 1, slip and chain 1, and now finish this motif. So there's gonna be 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2, followed by chain 2 and then 1 double crochet by itself. This is the one corner, and then chain 2, 1, 2, and join it to the third one up. Okay, so just count it up, and it's the third one, join it, and that's it. So now this is the actual outside of this. So you can see you got 2 that are leading toward the strand, so 2 double crochets, and then the 2 outside ones are right here. So fasten that off, and then we're gonna start going back and rotating around this now that the center is done. So let's begin our first revolution around, and this is gonna help us get our pattern established. And we're gonna start off in a chain 2 space that is on the outside of this. So you will notice that there's a double crochet that's sitting here by itself. Remember the chain 3 equals 1, and there's 1 here. We're gonna start here and start rotating around. So you're going to notice that in between the corners it's C2C. just like you see here. And we happen to have 5 of these search. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine happens to be 5. It doesn't matter because you're just gonna follow it C2C format and you're only putting in 2 double crochets. Here's the thing, okay, the very first revolution you were going to put the double crochets into the 2 double crochets that are in each side, just like you see. So you're gonna chain up 3, double crochet right in the first double crochet, chain 3, slip stitch down into the chain 2, chain up 3, and then the 2 are gonna match, and then you just slip stitch to the chain 2, okay, chain up 3, and then put the next double crochets into these chain double crochets here, and you do that all the way to the edge. So what we have to do is that we're gonna start establishing our edge, but everything in between is C2C. I did this several times. You need to use these 2 double crochets just to get yourself started all the way around. Let's begin our first revolution together. Let's begin our first revolution. So we're gonna start off with some fresh yarn. You can use different colors, it's up to you. And we're gonna create a slip knot, and we're going to go into the outside one of this, so a chain 2 on the outside. Okay, so it's in between where the 2 double crochets are sitting by themselves, and we're just gonna slip stitch into that chain 2 space. So just pull through and through like that. So now we're gonna begin. We're gonna chain up 3, so 1, 2, and 3, and we're gonna double crochet into this singular double crochet. This is the very corner, and then we're gonna chain 3, and noticing how I'm going up over top of this strand so it keeps it underneath. I'm gonna chain up 3, so 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to slip stitch it into the next space that is between the solo and between the 2 double crochets that you see here. So it's a chain 2 space, just slip stitch. So now we're gonna begin C2C format, but we're gonna use our double crochets and not chain spaces like we technically would. We're not gonna do that until the next revolutions. So we're going to chain up 3, so that counts as a double crochet, and the next 2 double crochets that are in this motif are gonna be each 1 double crochet. So 1 and 2, and then after you get that done, just stretch over to the next motif and stretch over right to the top of the chain 2 space here. So these will lean right up over top of it to fill in the space, and you're gonna slip stitch, and then you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then you will double crochet in the other 2 double crochets that you see. So these will cause it to lean over. Okay, once you get those done, go to your next motif, go to the chain 2 space on the top, slip stitch it to begin, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Make sure that right here these ones are upside down, so make sure that when you go to do it that you keep it everything right side up. So you're going to just double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and then just lean over to the next motif, chain up 3. So depending on how many motifs you have will vary how many times you're gonna repeat that before you get to an edge, right? That's right. So we're now meeting to the end of the last motif. So you got 2 in a row here, double crochets, you got the chain 2 space, and you have the 2 solos that are the corners. So just slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 space, so it's the top one, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to double crochet in this double crochet, and then chain 3 to come back down. So 1, 2, 3, and then chain 3 and come back down into the chain 2 space that is separating those 2 solo double crochets sitting by themselves, and rotate your work as you're going. So let's just rotate our work. We're not turning it, we're just rotating it, and then we're gonna begin to do this side of the project. So we're now continuing along. So chain up 3, come into the first double crochet that's sitting by itself, and then chain 3 to come back down. So 1, 2, 3, and you're coming back down into the next chain 2 space that's in between the solo and the 2 double crochets. Okay, so you see how you're doing that, and then chain up 3, and then start working away across this whole thing again. So the next 2 double crochets will be in these 2 double crochets that you're in on the first motif, And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna C2C across. So go into the next chain 2 space that's in the next motif, slip stitch it first, and then chain 2 or chain 3. So chaining 3 and then double crochet in the next 2 double crochets that you have. I have some loose ends I need to take care of after I'm done this segment. So then come into the next motif, slip stitch it, and then chain up 3, and I want you to double crochet in the next 2 double crochet. And keep doing that all the way across. So just come to the next motif. We're almost at the other side. Slip stitch it, chain 3, and then double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. And if you remember, where we started was actually at the top of this whole section right on the outside. So we want to make sure we're finishing this off. So come to the next chain 2 space, which is in the top of the next motif, and you're going to chain a total of 3. So this is another corner. So you're gonna come in and you're gonna double crochet solo, 1 double crochet into that one. This is a corner, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch to where you had started. So just slip stitch exactly the same position where the other one of the row started, or the round started. So just slip stitch it and just hold here for a moment. So what we have here is that we have a total of the interior done. Let's just zoom out the camera. So we have the interior done, and you're going to notice that it's gonna be awesome. Just take care of any loose ends that you may have at this particular point. But now we're going to start the fun stuff of now continuing with the C2C, going all the way around. So let's begin to do that next. So we came all the way around and we finished off and we slip stitched to the very beginning one that we had started before. In order to start the next revolution around, we have to slip stitch along this chain 3 first. That is already there, and then we chain 3 and come back in the other direction. So we actually have to turn our work. So we have to slip stitch over first, turn our work, and then begin in the opposite direction, going all the way around. Again, we want to be very mindful, but you'll notice that when we go to finish this at the end, you'll end up with 2 double crochets that'll be sitting on the end. So right now we're going to be consisting of ourselves of being able to do 2 rounds. So it'll be the round that I'm about to start and the next round that will actually be the completion of this whole thing. So then you just keep repeating this round and the next round over and over and over until you're satisfied with the size of your Afghan. So let's begin to do this next row. So this is where I slip stitched off. So what I want to do is that I want to slip stitch myself until the top of this section here. This is a corner and this is a corner. It'll become very obvious in this next row once you go to do it. So just carry on. So I have not turned my project yet, but I'm just gonna slip stitch myself up this chain and go right to the top of the chain just like you see. So go right into a space. Okay, and now we are going to turn our work. So just flip it, and now we're gonna come in the other direction, and look, I got a loose end there. So what we have is that we're going to start now and we're gonna go in this direction. We want to be very conscientious of where the corners are and where it's regular C2C. So to start, we're going to chain up 3. That counts as a double crochet, and we want to double crochet into this chain space 2 more times. So there's always gonna be 2 double crochets that sit in the spaces if you want to remember it from that perspective. So now the corner is the next one up. So as this expands out, this corner will get further and further away from each other. So slip stitch to the space. Okay, so the slip stitch it, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet in the corner, and then chain 3 to come back down. So 1, 2, 3, and come back down and slip stitch and start rotating your project, because now you're gonna C2C it all the way across. So we just C2C'd for 1 box, and now we're gonna do all these. So now we get to play in the chain spaces that are already created for us. So you'll see them on the very tops of the peaks. These are the chain spaces that we're gonna play in. So let's begin the first one, which will be the one that we're currently in. We're gonna chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the same space I want you to put 2 more double crochets. Okay, so just lean over. This is corner to corner concept now. Just get to the next space. Okay, there are 2 double crochets. This is the chain. Just go right in between, slip stitch it first, and then chain 3 and place 2 more double crochets into the same space. So if you're a corner to corner lover, this is exactly what you already know. So lean over, go into the next space that's available to you, slip stitch it, chain 3, and put in 2 more double crochets. Okay, lean over, get the next one, and you keep doing that all the way across. So as this gets bigger, this gets further and further away from each other. So chain 3, 2 double crochets into each. So really you're only paying attention to the corners most likely, if you're gonna pay attention at all. So just keep on going. So we have another one to fill, and we have to chain 3, and then we carry on. So 2 double crochets, and then the corner is the next one. So you can see that there's a chain 3, there's a double crochet and a chain 3. So slip stitch in the space. Okay, so over, and you want to keep this corner going. So chain up 3, double crochet in the double crochet, and chain 3, and notice how I'm just naturally rotating the project, and then come down and into the next space that's right beside it, slip stitch, and then you begin this side. So this is the shorter side, so chain up 3, and then in the same space put in 2 more double crochets, and then lean it over, and the corner happens to be next. So slip stitch it to the first space, chain up 3, double crochet in the double crochet, and then chain 3 to come back down to the next space. So I just naturally rotated my project. So chain up 3 to begin the next set going all the way across. So just in the same space put in 2 double crochet. Okay, slip stitch it to the next one here. So now this is regular corner to corner. Now corner to corner usually has 3 double crochets in a row. This one is only 2. Keep balance. This is what I determined. So just come into the next one, chain up 3, okay, come into the next one, so for those that are corner to corner lovers, you know how fast things go. I'm gonna get rid of this strand while that's bothering me. And I keep on going until I hit to where I had started. So sometimes it's hard to identify where you start, so you may want to put a stitch marker on the one corner that is always gonna be your stopping and starting. I found with myself sometimes I was getting confused. So the corner is the next one here. You're going to slip stitch like I told you, chain up 3, and then you are going to double crochet into that one, and when you double crochet, okay, you don't actually go into a space like I told you, just go into the first double crochet that you had started with. So it's the first chain that you left, and that'll keep that open for you instead of accidentally closing in on you, just like you see. So let's carry on with this tutorial. This is just an outtake just to correct some advice I just gave you. So I left you here, and we're gonna turn our project. Okay, so we don't slip a stitch at this time. We only slip stitch every other row, which I'll cover again. And you're going to chain up 3. You were going to double crochet in the next double crochet, so we're right on a corner itself, and then you're going to chain 3 and come back down. So 1, 2, and 3, and slip stitch it into the space. So you will notice that this corner looks like it's way out of balance with the rest of it, but when you come back around you will finish it. So carry on just naturally, just turn your project, just rotate it around, and just 2 double crochets into the same space, and start your C2C going across again to the other side. Okay, so just into the spaces, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm gonna close my mouth and just crochet with you across. It's just a C2C going across. Okay, so my corner is the next space that's coming up. I can see that because it will become very obvious as you're following up. These lines will then just completely show up. So here's the corner, so slip it into the one side of the corner, chain up 3, double crochet into the corner itself, so into the double crochet that exists, and chain 3 and slip stitch into the space on the other side of the corner, and naturally just rotate your project and continue around. So last time we had 1 box of C2C, now there's going to be a total of 2 boxes. So we chain up 3 and coming into the same space, put your 2 double crochets in. Now you're gonna treat it like C2C because it is, and then just attach it and then continue it again. So you're now growing this side out. And then just here's the corner. So the corners will get further and farther apart, so just slip it to the corner, chain 3, double crochet into the same double crochet, and chain 3 and come back down. And that's your corner, and you will see that it's gonna become very, very obvious because you'll have a line of tracks going up. Rotate your project and keep on going. So 1, 2, 3 in the same space, put in 2 double crochets, and this I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and go across C2C style. Okay, my corner is coming up next. I want to do my last C2C box really. Okay, here's the corner, so slip it first, chain 3 to build up, and then here's the corner, so double crochet in the same double crochet, and then chain 3 to come back down, and watch how we finish this round. It is so important. So we're gonna continue along. Here's where we started. You can see it's built out. It looks a little bit more bigger than it should. That's because we're gonna finish it. And then what we're going to do as we come around, so let's just finish these. So chain up 3, double crochet twice, same space, and we're gonna watch how we finish. So slip it, and this is the last C2C box. So chain up 3, and then you were going to then double crochet twice. Now here's where you finish this. So we already built it out, so we have to join it here, okay, in order to get this box to sit right. This took me forever to figure this out. So I'm going to slip stitch it here. Okay, we had already built it out and we slip stitch it, and now it looks equal, right, on the sides. But we're not done here. In order to start the next round, okay, remember how we slip stitched before? We're gonna do that. So let's just slip stitch up until you get to the top and go right into an actual space. So the last one, so I'd slip stitch twice, and the third time go right into a space. Turn your project and now begin the next revolution all the way around. So to begin that revolution, we chain up 3 and we start going in this direction. So when we finish this round, so every other round will be this. When we finish this round, we will end up building this final corner. So the last round we just did, we started and built the corner first, but in this round we built this corner last. So we just C2C ourselves across, and you should already know what you're doing at this point. But what I'm gonna do is I'll meet you at the end of this one here. I'll just turn the first corner. So use the visuals of the corner to follow it up. Okay, so slip it into the corner, chain 3, double crochet in the same double crochet, and chain 3 to come back down. And then just rotate your project and keep on going. So do that, and what I'm gonna do is I'll meet you at the end of this one here, and I'll show you how we're gonna finish this, because we need to finish this corner at the very end of this. So let me do this here off camera, and then I will see you at the end of this revolution. So as you come back around, I've actually just put it to edit when I did this last one here before, is that this should here be in a chain. See how it's kind of collapsing? It doesn't look like that on the other side. So I've already put a correction here, but I'm doing it again this time. So just chain slip stitch, chain 3 and double crochet. And what I want you to do is that I want you just to double crochet into this chain. Don't go into a space like I did before. I'm probably just gonna film a outtake of that just so that people are aware of it, because then it'll be completely separated, because I can see that it's not opening up like it did on the other sides, and that's kind of an error. So then this row is complete. So if you wanted to finish off this Afghan to have a nice flat edge, this is the row that you're going to do it. So remember to start the next row again is that you just turn around and you are going to chain up 3 and then double crochet and then chain up 3 and then just come into the next space, and now start rotating all the way around exactly what you know. So start C2C'ing all the way to the corner. So continue to do that all the way around if you want to. So just repeat the last row and this row over and over, and then when I come back I'll show you how to do a flat edge border. So here's a copy of what I have. My Afghans actually upstairs, but I have a flat edge that's on here. Most people do not want a pointed edge. If you want it, keep it, great, and if you don't, there's a way to solve that problem. So the way to do it is that I'm going to start my next row. So I just finished, and what I want to do is that I want to turn my work. So see where I'm done? I want to turn my work and begin the next one. So I still want to turn. So we're going to, on the top here, we want to just keep it flat. So we're gonna chain up 1, and in the corner here we just want to single crochet ourselves across this corner and then go right into a space to begin. So we're still gonna do a C2C, but we have to build this out so that it makes sense. So what we're going to do, instead of doing a chain 3, you're going to chain 1, and then the next one will be a half double crochet, and then the next one after that will be a double crochet. So normally we would have chained 3 and put in 2 double crochets, but this time we're chaining 1. We're gonna do a half double and then a double, and then in the next one here of regular C2C you're just gonna slip stitch, and that'll bring the edge flat. So let's review that again. So chain 1, and okay, and then you're going to half double into the next one. So just wrap the hook first in half, and then single or do a double and then come into the top. Okay, so let's try to do that seamlessly. So chain of 1, you're gonna do a half double and then double, and this is creating a flat edge for you. So you're gonna continue this all the way across until you hit a corner. So on the corners, all you're just gonna do when you get there is that you are going to just get there, and on the very corners you're going to just single crochet across the top. So once you get there you're going to slip stitch it like you would, and then just single crochet across, and then just slip stitch here, and then chain in 1 and then half and then double, and just work your way down the edge just there, and that'll make your edge nice and flat for you in order to enjoy. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. This is a really neat concept. This is something that I developed. It took me quite a while to do it, and all of this information is available to you on our website. Just look at the more information of this video. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.